Childhood obesity in cities. Topics for discussion. What is obesity? Childhood obesity in Australian cities. Social determinants of childhood obesity. Barriers preventing change behaviours and interventions. What is obesity? The World Health Organization defines obesity as abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that presents a risk to health. Obesity poses a significant risk to the poor physical health of a child and is a risk factor for the development of illness and mortality in adulthood. Obesity generally occurs from an imbalance in energy. Obesity is caused due to a sustained energy imbalance whereby the amount of energy a child consumes through eating and drinking outweighs the energy they use through physical activity and bodily functions. How is it measured? Obesity is commonly measured and classified through the use of BMI, which stands for body mass index, which is calculated by dividing the weight of someone by the square metre of their height. BMI is useful in providing population-level measures of obesity for children. Children in Australian cities. Childhood is a developmental stage in the human lifespan and ranges from birth to before adolescence. In 2018, 4.7 million children aged 0 to 14 lived in Australia. City planners in Australia often neglect to consider children in their development and structures. Therefore, cities can exclude children with the absence of playgrounds, sporting fields and parks, which are all places children can engage with physical activity. Childhood obesity in Australian cities. There is a large proportion of the Australian youth population that are obese. The ABS identified that in 2017 to 18, around 1 in 4 children aged 5 to 14 were overweight or obese. 23% of children living in major cities were more likely to be overweight or obese. Whilst diet and physical activity are obvious factors that contribute to a child's risk of developing obesity, social determinants also have a significant influence on a child's risk of obesity. Here is an overview of the social determinants of childhood obesity in cities. This figure is adapted from Germob and Williams 2019. Location. Studies show that children's health and well-being is impacted upon living in urban or city environments. Children engage in play or sports as their main form of physical activity. Gyms are not accessible to children, and thus sporting fields and playgrounds are their go-to. In major cities, however, children are limited in their options to engage with physical activity due to the lack of facilities such as playgrounds, parks, sporting fields and clubs, bike and walking tracks. Furthermore, homes for families living in cities are usually in sky-rise apartments with limited or no access to spaces such as backyards for children to engage with play or sports. Children in the city are therefore subject to an increase in physical inactivity and engage in sedentary activities such as computer games and television. Socioeconomic status. Studies have shown that Australian children who come from a low socioeconomic status are more likely to be overweight. In 2016, 16.3% of households living in major cities in Australia had low incomes. Having a low economic status can have a strong influence on the types of food a household can afford. With the lack of access to fresh food markets in the city and the increased price of healthy food options, cheap fast food items are the quick and easy and popular alternative. Therefore, because many households living in cities can be identified as having a low socioeconomic status, and low socioeconomic status contributes to obesity, this suggests that children living within households with low income have a greater chance of developing obesity. Home environment. During childhood, the home and family environment plays an important role in determining the risk of obesity. Parental physical activity levels, the family's eating behaviour, and television viewing habits all contribute to problems of overweight and obesity. Children learn behaviour through observation and modelling. Therefore, if parents are displaying unhealthy eating habits and physical inactivity, the child is going to learn these behaviours and acknowledge them as normal. Food system. Dietary behaviour can be influenced by spatial accessibility to food through the type, number, and location of food outlets and restaurants. Fast food outlets within cities are frequently operating 24/7 due to the long working hours of employees in the city, thus making it an easy fix for dinner for the family after work. With fast food outlets having cheaper items, many families are enticed and choose these outlets over buying fresh ingredients such as fruit and veg to prepare meals. With the long working hours in Australian cities, parents often do not have time to prepare healthy, home-cooked meals for their children and are much more inclined to purchase fast food takeaway or processed store-bought meals instead. Barriers that may prevent behaviour change. Behaviours such as eating healthy and engaging in physical activity are successful in reducing the risk of obtaining childhood obesity. As discussed in the previous slide regarding social determinants of childhood obesity, barriers that may prevent physical activity and healthy eating from are limited access to playgrounds, sporting fields, unable to financially afford healthier food options due to their expensive nature. Interventions. Many interventions have been developed in response to the increasing issue of childhood obesity. The World Health Organization pointed out that without intervention, obese children will likely continue to be obese during the stages of adolescence and adulthood. Two interventions that I will be looking at are Romp and Chomp and Child-Friendly Communities Policy by Planning Institute Australia. Romp and Chomp. Romp and Chomp is an Australian community-based intervention in reducing obesity and promoting healthy eating and active play in children aged 0 to 5 years. Research shows that Romp and Chomp has been extremely successful in preventing childhood obesity, with results of drops in prevalence of overweight and obesity among children, lower consumption of packaged snacks, fruit juice and cordial, a significant increase in the intake of healthy foods, less time spent watching TV and DVDs. Childhood-friendly community policy is a policy developed by Planning Institute Australia. It recognises the needs of children in policy planning and service delivery and prioritises needs such as addressing obesity and creating a sense of belonging and place, and fostering social connectedness and exploring within the environment. Conclusion. It is evident that childhood obesity is an ever-increasing and serious health problem occurring globally. Social determinants such as age, location, home environment, food systems, and socioeconomic status are the main influence towards the occurrence of childhood obesity in cities, particularly in Australia. It is crucial to implement interventions to change behaviours in order to reduce the risk of childhood obesity. Successful and behaviour-targeted interventions are fundamental to reducing the risk of obesity in children today, as well as children in generations to come.